right. Thank you so much for coming today. Looks like we have a full house. I'm Lucy Birmingham, your moderator. To my far right is our interpreter, Mary Joyce. Today we are very, very honored to have as our guest the renowned architect Kengo Kuma. Kengo Kuma and Associates, I just asked Kuma-san, has about 100 projects ongoing, right? Something like that. And has designed so many projects over the years that it would take way too long to even go through those. One that's now in the works is their design for part of the new Shibuya Station redevelopment, which is huge. That's going to be completed in 2027. But, of course, you are all here to hear him speak about the new National Stadium, the centerpiece of the 2020 Olympics and Paralympics. Obviously, many of you know that there has been a commission controversy with the Zaha Hadid architects. It was very big news in the Japanese media. Just for our YouTube viewers, she won the first contest in 2012, beating 45 other entries, but their design was abandoned in July last year over ballooning costs. Kuma-san and Toyo Ito were the finalists this round, and I am sure he will share with you his thoughts on that and the controversy and what we can expect to see. So please give a very warm welcome to Kengo Kuma.
Thank you very much for coming today. 今日は来てありがとうございます。今日パワーポイントを使いながら、新国立の話をしたいと思います。
Thank you very much for joining us today. Today I would like to use a PowerPoint presentation and explain first of all some information about the new National Stadium.
まず我々は、チームは3つの、会社です。大成建設とあずさ設計と、我々の事務所の3つのチームです。
First of all is the fact that our team is comprised of 3 companies working together: the Taisei Corporation, Azusa Sekkei, and Kengo Kuma and Associates.
でこれは皆さんもうよく見てられる、パースです。建物の、外観。この外苑の森、我々の森のスタジアム、というふうに、この、案を名付けました。外苑の森というのは東京でも、非常に大事な、緑のスペースなので、それとどうやって調和させるかということを第一に考えました。
And so this is an image which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It is the exterior view of the new stadium. It is located within the Gaien forest, or the external forest of the Meiji Shrine, which is a very important green zone within the city of Tokyo. So we have looked at how to make the most of utilizing this space and ensuring that the stadium is in harmony with its green surroundings.
で実は私の事務所はこのスタジアムのすぐそばにあります。それで私の家は神楽坂にあるので、毎日このスタジアムの脇を通って家に実は通っているのですね。でこの場所の緑がどうなるかということに関しては私も非常に関心がありました。
And actually our office is located right next to the forest here as well, and my home is in the area of Kagurazaka, which means that I'm passing by this green area every day actually as I'm going to and from the office and home. For this reason I have also had a great interest in this green space and how to utilize it within the city.
で我々が考えたのはまず建物をなるべく低く抑えたいということ、最高の高さ49メーターになっています。それから、建物を、自然の素材、木をたくさん使って、木が感じられるような、優しいスタジアムにしたいということを考えました。
And so first of all, what we have considered in the planning of this stadium is ensuring that it remains at a low height. The maximum height of the stadium is 49 meters, ensuring that it fits in with the surroundings. As well as this, we have tried to use natural materials as much as possible in the design, particularly wood, and ensuring that also those in the stadium can actually feel the warmth of this wood surrounding as well.
でそれからこの絵を見ていただくと分かるように、外観にはですね、緑を本物植物を、たくさん植えました。それも東京の在来の植物を、 たくさん植えて、それによってさらに外苑の森と建物というのが調和するように考えました。
As you can see in this image of the exterior of the stadium, actually we are also using many real plants, planting real greenery within the stadium. These are all going to be indigenous plants which are local to Tokyo, and this can ensure that the stadium can remain as much as possible in harmony with the green of the forest surrounding it.
で、緑を植えるとですね、多分皆さん気になるのはメンテナンスが大変じゃないかっていうことを多分気にされるだろうと思うんですが、メンテナンスがなるべくかからないような木を選んで、植えました。
And so in the process of planting so many greenery and plants within the stadium, I'm sure many people are concerned about questions of maintenance, thinking that perhaps it is difficult to maintain a stadium containing such natural plants. So what we have done in the planning process is tried to utilize plants which need as little care, as little maintenance as possible.
これが南側の入り口から、スタジアムを見上げたところです。
And so this image is looking up towards the stadium from the south entrance.
で、普通ですね、建築っていうのは、建築家はついつい建築を模型で見て、上から見て格好がいいとか悪いとか言うんですが、私たちの場合は人間の地上のレベルから見たときに建物がちゃんと人間に優しく感じられるようにするということをテーマに設計しておりますので、この地面のレベルから建物を見上げたときの感じというのが非常に大事です。
Usually in the process of architecture, often the process is made by looking at models from above, so looking at the buildings from above. However, what we have done within this process and what we believe to be extremely important is to consider how things are from the human level, from the ground level, from which humans will be looking up at these architectural properties, making sure that it is something which is friendly to the humans and an environment which is user-friendly as well. So this is why we can see looking from the human perspective.
でこの見上げた絵で木が見えると思います。これはひさしの軒の部分に木をたくさん使っています。これは日本の伝統的建築というのも、ひさしの下の軒の部分に木を使って、その部分がすごく美しいのが日本の伝統的な建築の特徴なので、私たちもそういうような日本の技を今回、この建物にも生かしたいと思いました。
And we can see here as well that there are many trees located within the area of the eaves of the stadium. This is actually utilizing one of the elements of traditional Japanese architecture, in which amongst the traditional eaves within the buildings, within the architecture as well, there are many trees planted, which is utilizing one of these very beautiful characteristics of the traditional Japanese aesthetic and architecture. And this is something which we have tried to really utilize these traditional skills and wisdom as much as possible.
で、例えば皆さんご存知の、奈良の法隆寺があります。で、この法隆寺の、五重塔というのも、そのひさしの裏の軒というものの美しさ、そこに木を使っている、その美しさがこの法隆寺の五重塔の、美しさの、大事な部分なので、我々はこういうものを意識して、こういうやり方を現代によみがえらせようというふうに考えたわけです。
This is an image which I'm sure you're all familiar with, the Horyuji Temple located in Nara in Japan, of the 5-storied pagoda located there, one of the very famous Japanese architectural works. We can see here as well the beautiful wooden eaves which are seen from below, and this is very much the kind of element which we are looking to incorporate within the stadium. So bringing these traditional aspects of Japanese architecture into the modern capacity of this stadium as well, utilizing wood in the eaves in this way.
で、それからこの軒に木を使うというののもう一つのいいところは、直接雨がかからないので、木が長持ちするっていうことです。で、それによってこの法隆寺の建物は世界最古の木造建築って言われますですね。で、それと同じように我々も、木を軒のところに使って雨が直接かからないようにすることで、メンテナンスを簡単にして、木を長持ちさせる、メンテナンスコストを安くさせるということを考えました。
Another aspect of utilizing wood in the eaves of the building as well, which it means that actually the rain does not directly hit or does not directly affect these wooden areas as well, which ensures that the wood can be very long lasting. It is in fact, this is one of the reasons which makes the Horyuji Temple the oldest wooden building in the world anywhere. So actually this is a way to ensure that the building can be easy to maintain and also reduce maintenance costs as much as possible as well.
で、これはですね、明治神宮です。で、明治神宮は今回の敷地は外苑って言って、明治神宮の森の、一部 であります。その外苑の、これが中心にあたる、明治神宮の建物ですが、この建物も実はこの軒のデザイン、軒が重なったデザインというのをこのデザインの一番のポイントにしております。
This is an image of the Meiji Shrine, and the new stadium will be located within the Gaien, or the external forest or garden of the Meiji Shrine. We can see actually that one of the particular characteristics within this design is also the layered eaves, which we can see here.
でこれが、スタジアムの、中です。
This is inside the stadium.
でここでもですね、我々は、木が感じられるような空間にしたいというふうに考えました。
And we have very much aimed to make sure that people inside the stadium can really feel the wood around them.
で屋根はですね、木と鉄を組み合わせたコンポジットのストラクチャーでできていて、特に下から見上げたときに木が一番見えるようにデザインをしました。
The roof is actually a composite made of both wood and steel, but the way the design has been put together is so that when you look at it from below and you're looking up at the ceiling, at the roof, you can see really the wood is coming very prominently through.
ここのスタジアムの観客の方はですね、スタジアムに入ると木に囲まれてるっていう、とても、何か温かさとか柔らかさを、感じていただけるんではないかと思っています。
And so I very much hope or believe that the audience, when they enter the stadium, will be able to look up at this design and feel that they are surrounded by this wood and feel a sense of warmth and being at ease and comfortable within this.
でそれからこの絵でですね、もう一つ注目していただきたいのは、真ん中の抜けてる空が見えるところの部分の周りに、ガラスの屋根があって、そのガラスは実は、太陽光パネルが取り付いています。
Another point in this image to which I would like to draw your attention, if we look at the central part of the image where we can see the open air or the sky coming through, if you look around there, there is actually a glass roof encircling this open part of the dome, and here there are actually solar panels fixed.
でこのソーラーパネルはですね、下から見えるんです。ソーラーパネルがあっても屋根にあって見えないとソーラーパネルのことが観客の方にわからないので、ここではソーラーパネルが下から見える、そういう環境技術の見える化というんですが、それを行おうというふうに考えました。
And these solar panels will be fixed in a way that the audience will be able to see them when looking up at the roof from their seats or from within the stadium. This is a reason, actually very deliberate, looking to make this environmental technology visible as part of the design.
でこの太陽光パネルで、発電された電気が、この建物の先ほどの緑がありますが、その緑の、水をやるエネルギーに使われます。
And the electricity which will be generated through these solar panels fixed onto the roof area will actually be used for the water and so on, for the greenery or the plants which we saw in the previous image of the stadium.
それから後で出てきますけれども、ここにもともと流れていた渋谷川の水の流れを再現するというのを我々はやってるんですが、その渋谷川の水を、ポンプで循環させるためにもこのソーラーエネルギーが使われています。
And I would like to show an image of this later in the presentation as well, but this area is actually located where the Shibuya River was originally flowing as well. And so we are also reusing or making the most of this cycle of the river which was there as well, and this will be done together with the solar panels on the roof area.
これが、建物の、断面図です。
So we can see the version of the layers within the stadium.
でここでですね、見ていただきたいのは、外にですね、ひさし状の、ものが、ついていて、先ほどの木でカバーされたひさしがついていて、そのひさしの下にできる影、この影というのが先ほどの法隆寺の五重塔でもありましたけれども、ひさしの下の影が建物に落ち着きを与えて森と建物を調和させる。これは影というのがとても大事で、日本建築の場合、谷崎の陰影来さん、皆さんご存知だと思いますが、そこに打たれているように影の美しさというもので森と建築を調和させようとしたわけです。
One of the aspects to which I would like to draw your attention in this image is we can see within the open air the eaves which are covered in the wood, as we saw from the outside as well, the shade or the shadow which is being utilized as a result of these layers here as well. This is something which can also be seen within the 5-storied pagoda of Horyuji, which we saw before, but really bringing a kind of calmness to the design within this, and also utilizing the shadow to bring it as much as possible in harmony with the surrounding forest or wooden areas as well. This beauty of the shadow and also utilizing this in this way is something which also comes very much from traditional Japanese architecture, such as that we can see by Tanizaki and others who I'm sure you are familiar with.
あともう一つ見ていただきたいのは風がここで矢印で書いてあります。で今回は風をどうやって建物の中にうまく取り入れてきて空調しなくても快適な空間を作るということを、シミュレーションで考えました。
Another point within this image, and we can see in the arrows, is the wind direction coming through the stadium as well. And within the design, we have very much tried to look at how we can utilize natural wind as much as possible so as not to need to use things like air conditioning facilities and so on as much as possible within the stadium as well, utilizing this natural way.
でそのようにエアコンがなくても、風の流れによって快適な空間を作るというのもこれは日本の伝統的建築の中で、今まで培われてきた大きな知恵なのでその知恵をもう一回現代に再生していようと考えました。
And so utilizing natural wind in order to create a comfortable space within a building as well without relying on air conditioning is also something which comes from the wisdom of traditional Japanese design and architecture as well. So within this we are very much trying to revisit this and bring it once again in a contemporary fashion.
でその時にですね大事なのはちゃんと風を、計算してシミュレートすることなんですが夏の南の風は、日差しによって観客席の方に降りてくる。夏はだいたい東京は南西の風が多いんですがその風は観客席の方に降りてくる。で冬は東京は北東の風が多いんですがそれが観客席に降りてくると困るので北東の風は上の方に抜けていくようにそういうふうにこの日差しはデザインされています。
And what is important to consider in designing this aspect is simulating and very much calculating the wind and the direction and so on at this time as well. And so what we are utilizing here is in summer where the wind in Tokyo is generally from the south or southwest, making sure that the wind is coming down to the audience to act in a cooling fashion to them directly. However, of course, in winter when we have more northeasterly winds coming as well, it is of course problematic if this wind is coming directly to the audience area. So the eaves design and the angles used here is very much ensuring that in winter the wind will come in and actually be going up away from where the audience will be seated.
それからこの断面、はですね、3段の、スタジアムというふうにすることによってどの席からも観客席を近く感じられるアスリートと観客をできるだけ近く感じられるそういうセクションになっています。
Another aspect of utilizing a 3-layered design in this stadium as well is a way to ensure that no matter where the seat in the stadium or where the audience is located, they can feel very much close to the action. So bringing as much as possible the athletes and the audience together or close in this way.
で、もう一つのですね、我々の売りは空の森と言われる、空中の遊歩道です。
Another aspect of our design which is particularly characteristic is what we are calling the grove of the sky or the Sora no Mori.
でここはですね、いつでも市民に開かれた遊歩道で、ここに見える外の外部階段によって直接市民がここにアプローチできます。
And this area will be open at all times of the day, at any time to local or to the citizens. And so this walkway area can be accessed directly by the citizens from the outside.
で、1周850メーターなので、ここで、ランニングする人もいるでしょうし、ゆっくり散歩する人もいるでしょうし、ベンチに座って、東京を空から見る人もいるでしょうし、そういう方たちが、ここを楽しんでいただけるように、これをデザインしました。
And the full circuit surrounding of this walkway area is a total of 850 meters. And so I very much imagine that people will be, running or going for jogs around this loop area, walking around, enjoying strolling, or sitting on the bench and looking down at the scenery of Tokyo below there as well. So I think this will be an area that citizens can very much enjoy.
で私はですね毎日この前のスタジアムの前を通っていて、 イベントをやってる時はいいんですけど、そうじゃない時は何かコンクリートのお城みたいですごく寂しい感じがしたので、いつでも人がここにアクセスできる、そういうふうな親しみやすいスタジアムにしたいと思って空の森を作って、しかもそこが木の空間の中に空の森があるということをデザインいたしました。
Personally, also, when I was passing the previous stadium every day going back and forth, the days when there were events taking place at the stadium are fine, but the days when there is nothing happening there, it seems like it was just a concrete castle floating up in the sky there as well. And so rather than having this very lonely scenery within the area, very much hoping within this design to have something which will be accessible to local people or the citizens at any time, so that they can feel very much close, feel that it is theirs, and also within this wooden and this natural environment.
でこれはもう一つのですね、環境に対する我々の提案で、渋谷川、昔は新宿御苑が水源で、渋谷川というのがここを通って渋谷の方に行ってたんですね。その渋谷川をもう一回復元する、そのせせらぎの部分がこれです。
And one more proposal within our environmental design of the stadium as well, we can see here the Shibuya River. Originally, the Shibuya River was flowing from its source actually where the Shinjuku Gyoen Park is located and coming down. And we're very much hoping within this design to be able to revive the river once again.
でこの、スタジアムの、スライドの他に今日はですね、実は私どもが、今までやった建物も少しスライドを、持ってきました。それによって、どんな感じっていうのをちょっとイメージしていただければいいなと思いました。
Today, as well as the images of the new national stadium, I have also brought along some slides or images of past buildings which our associates have designed as well, which I hope can help you to imagine what we will be seeing in our new building.
これは浅草、文化観光センターっていう浅草の浅草寺というお寺の前にある、文化観光センターです。
And first of all, I would like to introduce the Asakusa Culture Tourist Information Center, which is located just in front of the Sensoji Temple.
でこれは浅草寺の有名な雷門ですね。
This is of course the famous Kaminarimon Gate of the Sensoji Temple.
でこの、雷門の前に我々の、この文化観光センターがあります。
And so our center is located just in front of this gate.
でこれはコンペの時に、出した案なんですが、ここでもですね、ひさしが重なっていて、ひさしの下に柔らかい影を作るというのがテーマになっています。
And so this is the image which was submitted as part of the competition for our design. We can see here within the layered eaves of the building as well, and putting forward how these create the shadows and make this very warm space within this.
でこれが断面図ですね。これを見ると、日差しがたくさん出ている、その下に影を作る、ということ、それによって太陽光をカットして省エネルギーを図るというような我々の意図がわかると思います。
And so we can see here through these many layers as well, and the eaves forming together to create these shadowed areas. This can cut the direct sunlight which is coming through, which can also ensure higher energy efficiency within the building.
これが、完成予想図で、
This is an image of how it was imagined to be completed.
これが出来上がったものです。
And this is the final actual building.
でこのように、外壁はやはり杉をたくさん使っています。今回も我々、杉を提案しています。杉を、壁の外壁の部分、それからカラマツを、屋根の部分というふうに提案して、杉とカラマツというのは、日本を代表する木の一つですけれども、これによってやはり国産材をたくさん使って、このスタジアムによって日本の森を元気にしようという気持ちもあります。
And so we can see here within the Asakusa design, we are utilizing a great deal of Japanese cedar in its external walls and so on. Our proposal for the stadium is also utilizing cedar for its exterior. And as well as this, the other type of wood primarily to be used is karamatsu or Japanese larch for the roof area as well. So trying to use as much as possible these very traditional representative domestic woods as a way to also look at how we can revive the natural forests in Japan as well.
このように外壁というので、杉を、感じられるわけです。でその杉をですね、腐らなくする、燃えなくするという技術も 今は世界中でここ20年間ぐらい非常に速いスピードで技術の、革命がありました。そういうふうにして木をもう一回都市の中でも使えるようになった、こういう世界の新しい流れがありますけれども、今回の、国立でもそういう木の新しい処理の仕方というものが、施されるわけです。
And so we can see here within the exterior walls, very much the cedar can be felt as a primary part of the design. Actually, within the past 20 years or so, there has been a rapid technological revolution in the development of ways to prevent wood from either burning or also decaying as well. So with this technological developments have meant that once again wood can be used as a primary material in urban areas design as well, and this is enabling us to also be doing so in the new stadium.
これは浅草のインテリアですね。
So this is the interior at Asakusa.
で次はですね、フランスでも我々は同じような考え方、同じようなコンセプトで、ブザンソンという町の、City of Arts and Culture というのを設計しました。これは出来上がったのは3年前です。
We have also designed a building or an architecture on a similar concept in France in the city of Besançon, the city of arts and culture. And this was completed 3 years ago, in fact.
このブザンソンって町は世界指揮者コンクールをやるというところで小沢誠二さんがここで24歳の時に世界で一番に選ばれた町で、日本ともとても関係が深い町です。
Actually, this city is where the international competition for conductors is held, which was won by the Japanese conductor Ozawa Seiji when he was 24 years old. So this is actually a city which has a very long relationship with Japan as well.
これが、敷地です。
So this is the area.
で真ん中のレンガの建物を保存して、でその上に、木の建物をかぶせました。
And so we actually maintained or preserved the brick building which is located in the middle of this land and surrounded this with wooden architecture.
このように川とそれから町の間に、この左側の部分は、せせらぎを復元したところなんですね。この左側のところで同じようにせせらぎをここでも復元して、町の人が水を感じられるようにするというデザインにしました。
And so we can see here, this is the design showing how it is located between the city or the urban area and the river as well. And on the left, we can see we're very much trying to recreate the kind of a reeds area surrounding a river as well, to feel or make the citizens be able to feel close to nature within this way as well.
これは川から見たところで、ここでも木です。ここはカラマツです。フランスのカラマツを使ってます。
And so this is looking towards the building from the river. This is also using larch, but actually French larch in the design.
フレンチラーチですね。
So this is also the French larch.
でこれがそのせせらぎを復元したところで、新しくこういう水の流れを使って、この屋根をやっぱり同じようにひさしを作ったんです。ここでもでひさしを作って見上げると木が見えるということをやって、ここはこの市の人にとって非常に素晴らしい散歩道になりました。僕はこれを縁側ってフランスの人にも説明していますけれども、このようなひさしの下のスペースというのは、世界中の人からきっと愛されるというふうに私は信じています。
And so here we can see also the flow of the river and how this is incorporated within the design and the water and the wood as well. The area under the roofs, under the eaves as well, you can see how the Japanese eave design has been utilized within this building as well. So when you look up, you can see this wooden area. This has actually become a very beloved walking space or walking area for the local citizens. And I'm actually explaining this to them as part of the Japanese engawa, which is a traditional aspect of Japanese buildings, Japanese houses and so on, which has the area surrounding the building under the roof, under the arch, which can be enjoyed under the eaves, which can be enjoyed as a kind of a balcony or veranda area as well. And I believe that this engawa aspect of Japanese design is something which can very much be appreciated and loved by people all around the world.
これも縁側ですね。
So this is also the engawa area.
で植える植栽もなるべく地元のローカルの草や花を植えて、そこのローカルな自然を大事にするということを考えました。
And in this design as well, we can also see how we very much try to utilize as much as possible local or indigenous grasses and flowers to also really value and make the most of the natural aspects or the natural environment of that area itself.
これは、やはり光と影を、デザインした、ここは僕は木漏れ日というふうに呼んでいる場所です。
And so here we can see the combination of the light and the shadow coming together as well. And this is an area which I am calling komorebi, or the sun which is coming through the gaps.
で屋上にはですね、ここでも太陽光パネルとそれから、緑のグリーンルーフというのが組み合わされています。
And in this French design also we have utilized both solar panels and also green roof area in combination.
次のものは2年前にできた、これはパリの建物で、アントレポートマクドナルド、マクドナルドはハンバーガーではなくてマクドナルドは通りの名前です。
And this is another design in France, in Paris actually, which was completed 2 years ago, the entrepot McDonald. McDonald does not refer to the hamburger chain, but actually to the name of the street upon which it is located.
これはエデュケーションとスポーツの複合体で、その、パリの北の、コミュニティのやはり中心になる施設です。
This is an education and sports complex which is located in a community within the northern part of Paris.
でこの1970年にアントレポートマクドナルドというのがマクドナルド通りの前に500メーターの長さの建物でできました。
And the original entrepot McDonald was created at a length of 500 meters on the McDonald Road, as we can see here.
でそこにですね、そこの500メーター、を、建築家が、6人の建築家がこうそれぞれ場所を分割してデザインして、我々は、一番西側のエッジの部分を担当しました。
And in fact, this 500 meter length area was divided into 6 parts, and each part was given to a different architect to design the revived version of the building. So 6 architects were working on this, and we were responsible for the area on the westernmost edge of the building.
で我々はこの部分も古い下にある白い建物は、その1970年にできたコンクリートの建物で、その上に屋根を乗せたんですね。でその屋根の下にできる影がここに来る人たちに安らぎ、安心感、そういうものを与えるというふうに考えました。
And so actually the original building from 1970, which is the old white section we can see here, built from concrete, we actually decided to put a roof on top of this and use the shadow space, which is created as a result below, as a place for local citizens to come and feel comfortable or at ease.
でこれがその屋根のデザインですね。
So this is the roof design.
で、このルーフはですね、実はこのルーフの下もカラマツでできています。でカラマツをこの下から見上げたときにこのカラマツの質感が見えるっていうのが、すごくあったかい感じがして優しい感じがしていいというふうに、この市民の人たちからも評価していただきました。
And this roof is also actually utilizing karamatsu or larch within its design as well. So when you're looking up at the roof from below, you can see the warmth of the wood, which is something which has been very much praised by local citizens.
我々は屋根を使ったんですが、他の5人の建築家は全部箱の上に箱を乗せたデザインだったので、私どもはやはり屋根っていうものが、都市というものにとってこれから必要じゃないか、そういう屋根、ひさし、そういったものが必要じゃないかというふうに考えて屋根を提案したわけです。
And in fact, the other 5 designers who were working on this building all actually put, boxes on top of boxes. So I very much felt that the roofs and eaves, as were utilized in our design, are something which is necessary for cities or for urban areas once again.
で私自身は、1954年に生まれて、1964年の東京オリンピック、前の東京オリンピックの時に10歳だったんです。でその時に、丹下健三という建築家の設計した、代々木の体育館を、父親と一緒に訪ねて本当に感激して、その時にですね建築家になろうって決めたんです。
And I personally, actually, I was born in the year 1954, and so when I was 10 years old was when the previous Tokyo Olympics took place in 1964. And at that time, of course, the stadium was built by the Japanese architect Kengo Kuma, and at that time I remember visiting it together with my father and being so impressed at this structure that actually made me decide that I wanted to become an architect.
でその代々木の体育館は今でも原宿の駅前にあって、非常に今でもすごい美しい、もう時代を超越した、建築です。
And this structure, actually, the Yoyogi Gymnasium, is still located in front of the Harajuku station. And even now, decades later, it is still very much a building which is really going past the times, going beyond the times, and still very important to the area.
で私も丹下先生の建物のように、子どもたちがこう訪れて、感激してくれるような建物、子どもたちがここで木を使ってるとか緑があるとか、そういうことに感激してもらえるような建物を作れたらまあいいなというふうに、願っております。
And I very much hope that in the same way as this previous building, that my design, my stadium, can also be something which children can visit and enjoy and look up and see the wood and the greenery which is there as well, and really be moved by this also.
どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
Kuma-san, thank you so much. It was wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so now we open up to questions. First from the press, they get priority. Anybody have a question? Yes, Julian. Yeah.
Julian Ra from the Daily Telegraph in London. Dame Zaha Hadid seems very angry. And I think she's angry at you, and I think you know why this is. You haven't touched on this in your comments today, but I think many of us here are interested in what you have to say about the issue. Her concerns, or her allegations, if you like, are that a lot of your design is based on her design, and that in many cases it's identical. She says that the geometry of the stadium bowl, the ground level spectators entrance, the internal planning, and several other elements of your design are actually her design. Can I ask if the design that you've put forward is all your own work, and what is the reason for any similarities? Is this coincidence only?
ですね、ザン・ハディドさんの建物も僕は素晴らしいデザインだったと思います。とてもユニークな形で、彼女の哲学が非常に表れている素晴らしい建築だったと思います。
First of all, I would like to say that I believe that the design by Ms. Zaha Hadid was actually a very excellent or wonderful design, very much in a unique shape and really representing or demonstrating her philosophy.
で似てるってことに関して言うと、ザン・ハディドさんの建物と私の建物は皆さん見ても分かるように全く違う印象を与えると思います。
And in regards to your question about similarities, I believe that if you take a look at the designs of Ms. Zaha Hadid and also myself, you can see a very different impression of the buildings.
そのディファレントインプレッションの理由は、ザン・ハディドさんはサドル型って言って、まず観客席の両側をこういうふうに大きく立ち上げています。
And the reason for this very different impression is, first of all, in Zahid's design, we can see the saddle area which has been, and then dividing the audience part into these two sides coming up.
で我々はですね、なるべく建物を低く抑えようとしたので、全部水平にしました。水平にすることによって、逆に水平にするってことは目立たなくてよくないんじゃないかって人もいましたけど、私はなるべく低く水平にして、周りに対して溶けた感じにしようというふうに考えたわけです。
And so rather than this ascending design, actually in our building design, we are very much trying to keep it as low as possible, as close to the ground, low height, and also ensuring that it has a flat aspects of the design as well. Well, this may mean that some people may say, well, it doesn't stand out as much as perhaps a stadium should. I believe that we very much did this deliberately to ensure that this flat design can melt or really fit in as much as possible within its surroundings in a natural way.
でそれからスタジアムの大きな構成で言いますと、我々は3段スタジアムっていう3段で作っています。でこれ3段にするっていうのが8万人の規模だと、一番観客席とそれからアスリートを近づけるので、私の調べたところだと最初のコンペの11選ばれた案の中で7段は3段スタジアムなんですね。なので、8万人のスタジアムを解くときは3段スタジアムというのが一番、リーズナブルな回答だと思います。
And next, in regards to the actual structure of the stadium, our design is utilizing 3 layers within its structure. And this is actually for the purpose of ensuring that on the scale of an 80,000 person stadium, ensuring that we can keep as close as possible the audience and the athletes, make them feel as close as possible. Actually, I believe when we looked at the first or the 11 entries which were submitted to the competition originally, 7 of these were utilizing this 3-layer design. So we can see that actually it's the most reasonable way to ensure in a stadium of this capacity to make the audience and the athletes feel as much as possible as one.
で、ザハさんも我々も両方とも3段なんですけど、3段にしたときに、観客席からサイトラインっていってすべてのアスリートが見えるように、計算をすると、角度っていうのはですね、一番適正な角度っていうのが決まってくるので、その場合も、ザハさんの角度は私に似てるというのは、それはアスリートから見えるようにすると、自動的に、それに近い角度が、出てきます。
And actually, Zaha's design also is utilizing these 3 layers within the stadium structure. When we look at how to ensure that all of the audience seats have, well, their sight line, as we call it, towards where the athletes are, and when you calculate the angle from this layered design, actually automatically it comes up with certain angles which are the most appropriate for ensuring that each of the audience members has this sight line to the athletes' area as well. And so if we consider this, I think it's quite natural, or in a way almost automatic, that these angles come up in a very similar way in Zaha's design and my own also.
もう一つ細かいディテールの話なんですけど、座席のですね、座席の並びも東京都の、火災予防条例っていう法律があって、その火災予防条例っていうもので、決まった座席の配列の仕方があるんですね。それをすると大体同じような配列でしか法律が通らないので、それもですね、ザハさんは、そこも言ってるのかもしれないんですけど、座席の配列が似るのはその同じ法律、それから同じ敷地の形、同じトラックの形になっているので、自動的に似てくる、そういうふうな仕組みにあります。
One further aspect, which is becoming somewhat detailed, but which is similar as well, is the layout of the rows of seats within the stadium as well. However, actually, according to the Fire Prevention Acts of Tokyo Metropolitan area, it's actually very much set in the ways that the layout of the seats can be done is very much decided within this law as well. Only certain layouts and so on can be permitted within these limitations. Therefore, when we consider that the design is being created within the same land, using the same tracks, and also under the same laws, it is natural or almost automatic in a way that there are certain similarities which will arise.
でそういうことにも、そういうディテールにもかかわらず、やはり我々とザハさんは基本的に、実現しようとしている、建物のコンセプトが違いますので、大きな配置、先ほどサドル型とフラット型って言いましたけれども、基本的に全く違う建物だ、全く違うデザインだということは分かっていただけると思います。
And yet, despite these technical details and so on being similar, the concept which is being aimed for, which is being realized within the design of Zaha and also our design, is completely different. We are looking at the saddle design versus our flat design as well, and completely different concept in the way this is being approached as well. So despite these detailed aspects, I believe that it can be said very much that these designs are completely different.
Okay. Next. Another question, please. Well, from the press first, sorry. You are? Okay, yes, please, come on up.
インドネシアの記者なんですけれども、リチャード・ソシロと申します。My name is Richard Susilo from Indonesia. Actually, I would like to ask about the tree. Where's the tree come from? It is from inside Japan or outside Japan? And what kind of technology you will use to treat for this tree, for this Olympic building? Thank you.
ですね、木は、国産材を使うというふうにコンペで我々は提案いたしました。で、国産の、杉を先ほどのイーブスのところですね、ソフィットのところに杉を使って、屋根の部分には、カラマツを使うというふうに国産材を提案いたしました。それはなるべく木を使う場合も、輸送距離が短いと、その輸送の時の CO2 の排出も抑えることができるので、木を使うことによって環境に対していい効果を及ぼすためにはなるべく近い木を使う というのがいいので、それも一つの理由です。
Within our proposal in the competition, we are proposing to use domestic Japanese trees within the design. In the eaves, it will be Japanese cedar, and the roof area will be larch. Actually, when we are using trees in building design as well, it is important to consider the distance that the trees will be transported as well. Of course, the less distance means the less CO2 emissions involved in this process too. Therefore, using trees from as close locations as possible and from within Japan is also one of the aspects which we are considering in order to look at the environmental sides of this stadium design.
それから木の処理の仕方はですね、私ここ20年ぐらいもう木をなるべくどのプロジェクトに木を使いたいっていうふうにいろいろ研究を、自分でもしてきましたので、木の処理どういうふうな処理をしたらば一番長持ちしてメンテナンスコストとかかからないかということはいろいろ経験を積んできたので、そういうものを生かして、それからこのチームのノウハウを生かして、そういうメンテナンスがかからない、このメンテナンスコストこれから今非常に重要ですので、そういう、木の処理の仕方をやりたいと思います。
And in regards to how the wood will be treated, actually within the past 20 years, within all of my projects, I have aimed to utilize as much wood as possible within the buildings as well. And also personally conducted much research on these aspects, looking at how to ensure that the wood can be not only long-lasting, but also ensure that the maintenance costs can be kept as low as possible. This is something which, of course, is going to be very important from now as well. So utilizing the experience of our previous designs over the past decades and also the accumulated know-how of our team, we are looking at how to work on these treatment aspects of the wood.
Thank you for the question. Okay, yes, please, go ahead.
Isabel Reynolds from Bloomberg. I'd like to ask about how you became involved in this Olympic project. I don't know if you were involved in the first round of the competition, and how did you come into the second competition? Were you asked to be involved, and is it just coincidence that you're working with two of the contractors who also worked with Zaha Hadid?
ですね、最初のコンペの時はコンペの参加の条件っていうのが非常に厳しかったです。ですごい有名な賞、プリツカー賞とか AIA ゴールドメダルとかそういう賞をもらってないと、応募できないで、私はその時もらっていなかったんで、僕はお呼びじゃないなと思ったのでコンペには、最初のコンペには、出しませんでした。
First of all, in regards to the first competition, the conditions which were set in place for participation or for entrance were very strict, actually. And one of these included that the architect must be a previous awardee of the famous Pritzker Prize as well, which is something which I have not received until now. So looking at these conditions and so on, I thought, well, this competition, this project is perhaps not for me. And so I did not enter.
それで、でもまあ近くに住んでいたので、いろいろなコンペでいろいろ話題になってきたのに関しては関心がありました。これはやっぱしすごく日本にとっても重要なプロジェクトだから、チャンス2回目のコンペになるって聞いたときにチャンスがあれば応募したいなっていうふうに思ったんですが、その時に、大成建設さんから、声がかかって、一緒のチームのメンバーに加わってくれていったんで、実は正直びっくりしました。普通はこういう大きなプロジェクトは大きい設計事務所と、大きい、建設会社がチームでやるのが普通なので、私なんかに声がかかるとは思っていなかったので、大成建設さんから声がかかって実はすごくびっくりしましたが、私はすごいこれは名誉なことだと思って全力を尽くして頑張ろうと思ったわけです。
However, of course, living very close to the location of the stadium, it was something which I was very interested in, very much followed the discussions and the developments in regards to the new stadium. Of course, also looking at this as something very important for Japan as a whole as well. Therefore, upon hearing that there would be a second chance coming up as well, I thought, well, if at all possible, this is something which I would like to attempt if I could. And at that time, actually, the Taisei Corporation contacted me and invited me to join their team for the second round of the competition. This was something which actually very surprised me at the time. Usually in such large projects and so on, these very large companies would be working together rather than someone of the size of our firm. So this is something which I had not been expecting at all and was very surprised to receive this invitation from Taisei. However, I of course felt this was very much an honor and wanted to put all of my efforts and dedication into working towards this project.
Thank you. Yes, please go ahead. And then David, you can after that.
Patrick Walter, German newspaper, Frankfurter Allgemeine. I'm wondering, how can you the first project by Zaha was declined due to cost overrun. So I just wonder, how can you assure that there won't be a cost overrun with your plans? And can you tell us about your previous projects? About did you have cost overruns and what magnitude?
コストはどうやって抑えたかな。
コストも超えないようにどういうふうに
そうね。
そして過去の経験としてもそれを
そうですね。はい。ですね、コストに関しては、今回コストとスケジュールがすごい重要なテーマになっているので、設計している時からですね、設計しての最初の時からなんとか安く作れる形を作り出そうっていうのを、最も重要なテーマの一つに考えてました。
In regards to the cost and also the construction schedule, these have been from the start put forward as the two key or the important aspects of this round as well. So from the very first phase of the design, one of the key things we have been looking at is how to ensure that costs can be kept as low as possible.
でちょっとディテールの話、テクニカルな話になるんですけど、そのために水平型っていうふうに我々はしてます。で水平型はそのサドル型に比べて全部の断面が同じなので、同じ部材を繰り返していけばいいので、水平型というのはコストにまず大きなメリットがあると考えました。
And so first of all, this is a somewhat technical detail, but utilizing a flat design is one of the ways in which we are looking at keeping costs as low as possible. In comparison with a saddle design, the flat design actually uses the same components on each of the levels as well. So being able to repeat the materials and the design on each of the levels of the building ensures that the cost can be kept low in this respect.
それからまたディテールなんですけど、使う木の使い方はですね、なるべくどんな小さな工場でも加工できるサイズ、どんな小さな工場でも加工できるディテールで木を使おうというふうに考えました。
And the next is also another technical detail, but it is in regards to how we are using the wood in the design. We are looking at ensuring that both the size and also the details of each wooden part within design is something which can be done even within very small factories as well, meaning that it can be treated or created in this way in factories of any size.
例えばですね、屋根に使っているカラマツですけど、我々はカラマツの修正材っていうのは、こういう建物の場合は1メーターぐらいのものをよく使うんですが、我々はですね、それを2分割して45センチに抑えたんです。で45センチだと小さな修正材の工場でも作ることができるので、値段を抑えることができる、そういうふうにすべてのディテール寸法においてコストを抑えるということで決めました。
So for example, within the larch which is being used in the roof area of the building, often or in most cases this would be of a length of sort of 1 meter would be the parts of the larch to be used in such a structure. However, what we have done is actually divide this into two parts of 45 centimeters each, which means that this is something which can actually be produced even in smaller factories as well, and this is one way to keep the costs lower.
でそれからプレハブのやり方も、最初から考えまして、このソフィットに使ってある、木のパネルは全部パネルになって工場で作って、あと現場で同じ寸法のものを工場から持ってきて全部貼り付ければできるように考えました。
And also we are looking at utilizing prefabricated methods within the construction of the stadium as well. For example, the panel areas, they will actually be created or produced in factories and then just brought on site and put in place from there. So this will also ensure that the costs and the timing can be kept low.
で実は今の時代はですね、どこでも世界中のどこでもコストっていうのが一番大事な時代になってるんですね。で私どもの、フランスのプロジェクトも、例えばアメリカのプロジェクトでもコストが本当にいつも問題になります。皆さんちょっとでも高くかかる建物、贅沢な建物はもう世の中から厳しく批判される時代なので、どうやったらコストを安くできるかってことを、我々の事務所はそれに関してはもういつも考えております。
And actually, for any project anywhere in the world as well, the issue of cost is really the most important thing at the moment. In our projects which we are doing in France or the United States as well, it is always cost which comes up as really the key issue. And if a project is to go even a little bit over the proposed cost as well, this is something which will be very strongly criticized from the public and so on as well. Therefore, our office and Kengo, our studio is also very much looking at how to keep costs down and how to ensure that it stays within cost is really one of the things that we are paying most attention to in our projects.
Thank you. Okay, David.
David Manale for The Economist. Patrick actually stole my question on costs. So I was going to ask a related question, which is about earthquakes. I've talked to some experts, and they're very worried about the possibility that an earthquake in Tokyo could knock all these plans off-center, if not destroy them altogether. So I wonder if earthquakes keep you awake at night, and if you've considered it. And I also wanted to go back to angry Dame Zara again, by the way. She has said that she's on the record now as saying that the reason why she wasn't awarded the design, or it was taken away from her, was because, this is a quote, the Japanese authorities don't want to use a foreigner to build a stadium. I wonder if you are able to comment on that. Thank you.
でまず地震のことですけど、地震に関してはやはり東京でそろそろ大地震が来るということはみんな恐れていますので、今回も地震に関する注意というのは大事にしました。で我々精神構造っていう精神構造っていうのは英語で訳せますよ精神構造というシステムを用いて地震に対して対抗しようというふうに考えました。
And so first of all, in regards to your question in regards to earthquakes, of course, the possibility of another great earthquake occurring in the Tokyo region is something which we are all concerned about. So this is something which was very much taken into caution when we were coming up with the design, and something which we are putting attention to as well. In regards to the name of the structure which is being used in this as a way to deal with earthquakes in possible as well, it is a system called Seishin Kozo. I'm sorry, I don't know the technical term for that.
Seishin Kozo.
But as a way of being able to respond or deal with the situation if an earthquake were to occur.
それからザハさんのことなんですが、私はそんな外国人の人に、国のスタジオを任せたいということは、そういう気持ちが働いたというふうには全く考えていません。
And in regards to Mizaha, I personally do not feel that any concerns about not wanting a foreigner to be involved in Japan's national stadium were at play at all. I don't think that this is an issue.
ただ外国の人、建築家が日本で働くときは、やっぱり仕事はしにくいだろうなっていうのは感じます。それは僕自身の体験から、やっぱり僕が海外で仕事をするときですね、やっぱり仕事は実は結構しやすいんですね。それでヨーロッパでも実は中国でもすごく仕事が今しやすくなってます。でそういう外国人が働くことが来てデザインすることに対してすごくウェルカムな空気を僕は感じるんですね。で、それが本当に日本であるかどうか、私自身は日本で外国人として体験したことがないので分かりませんけれども、やはり例えば英語でのコミュニケーションとか、例えば日本人独特の会議のやり方とか、そういうようなことは日本ではあるんじゃないかなというふうに思うので、やはりまだまだ日本というのはそういうところを努力してもっと外国の人に門戸を開かなきゃいけないというふうに私は考えています。
However, I would like to say that I believe that it is perhaps difficult in some respects for architects from other countries to be working within Japan. Personally, within my projects I have done overseas, for example in Europe and China and so on, I feel it is actually a very easy environment to work in, even as someone coming from a different country. I feel that it's very much a welcome environment for architects from other countries to be working there as well. However, I think that we should actually question whether this is the case here in Japan as well. Of course, I personally have not experienced working as a foreigner in in Japan, so I cannot comment on this from my own personal experience. However, if we look at aspects such as communication in English or very particular ways of proceeding with meetings and conferences which are done here in Japan, I think that there are still many aspects which Japan could make more efforts to really open the doors up to make it a much easier or more welcoming environment for people from other countries to work in.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from the press? Yes, Ida-san, dozo. Oop. Can you come up to the, oh, I'm sorry. Please come up.
Kyogo Hasegawa with AFP. Have a question about a proposal apparently made inside the Olympic Committee about using recycled wood and steels for a new stadium. This is an informal proposal, but do you think that's possible to use recycled woods and steels for your new construction? Thank you very much.
ですね、それのことに関しては、それこそそのインフォーマルにたくさんリクエストがメールがもう山のように来てます。それでもうすごい専門家の方、特に環境の専門家の方、今すごくこのプロジェクトに関心を持ってくださっているので、もう山のようなメールが私に来て、それを理解するだけでもすごく大変なんですけど、そのリサイクルスティールの話、もうそういうリクエストが来ています。私はやっぱりそういうのも今回のオリンピックというのは、やはり時代のテーマというのは環境というのが時代のテーマですので、そういう環境というテーマに応えられるような、これから図面を実際書いていって材料選びをするわけですけれども、そういう時に十分配慮していきたいと思ってます。
At the moment, we are actually receiving an enormous flood of requests or informal requests by email, such as the one which has just been mentioned as well, from many experts in different fields, particularly from those from environment-related fields as well. There is a very high interest in this project, and so we are really receiving a flood of such suggestions and requests and so on as well. It's quite difficult even just to go through these and really understand or fully comprehend all of these different suggestions which are coming through as well. But the suggestion of using recycled materials, as mentioned, is something which we have received. Looking at really the theme of the era at the moment, really looking at the environment as a key part, I think that this is one of the things which can be considered, and looking at how we can ensure that this new stadium, the new national stadium, will very much respond to the needs of the times, and also these environmental aspects as well will be something we would like to pay very significant attention to from now.
Okay, any more questions from the press? Yes, please go ahead.
日本語でよろしいですね。TBS の長倉と言いますが、木を重用するということはお聞きしたんですが、化粧部分ではなくて構造材として使っているんですか。さっきの地震のことでもちょっと気になったんですが、スタジアムだって8万人の人の重さを支えなくちゃならないし、どの程度その構造材に木を使っているのかということをお聞きしたいんです。はい。
ごめんなさい。
Hello, I am from TBS. I would like to ask a question in regards to the use of wood in the design. I would like to ask whether this is not just being used for design aspects, but actually for the structural aspects of the design as well. And if you could comment about to what extent it will be used in these parts, and also how, or what concerns may be in place in regards to earthquakes and so on. Thank you.
木はですね、構造材に使っている部分と、それから仕上げ材に使っている部分に2つに分かれます。で、外壁の下から見上げた時に見える杉は仕上げ材です。で、その奥にあるスタジアムの観客の重さを支える部分はコンクリートです。それはやはり観客の安全性があります。それがあるので、そのメインのスタジアムの構造はコンクリートになっています。で、屋根を支える構造、屋根を抱える工場はその上に観客乗りませんから軽いんです、屋根は。で、それは鉄と木の複合構造っていうのになって、そこにカラマツを使っているということです。
There is a combination of this being used within the design, using wood for both structural materials and also for more design aspects as well. If we look at the wooden parts or the cedar, which could be seen from below when looking up towards the stadium in the external or the exterior, this is for design purposes only. And actually for the structural pillars which are within the stadium itself, we are actually also utilizing concrete there as well to, of course, ensure the safety and security of the audience and those within the stadium. In regards to the supports for the roof, because this aspect is actually much less heavy, we are using a composite of both wood and steel within the materials, and this is where the Japanese larch is being utilized.
Okay. Anybody else from the press? He put his hand up first. Yes, please go ahead. Yes, gentleman in the back. Yes, yes.
塩村と言います。同い年で小学校4年の時に東京オリンピックを見たんですけど、聖火台をこう登っていくシーンがありましたよね。聖火台はどこにどういうふうにお作りになる予定なんですか。
I am also from the same generation. I had the Tokyo Olympics when I was 4 years old, and of course we have the scenes of going up for the platform for the Olympic flame as well. I would like to ask where this will be located within the stadium.
私も聖火が登っていくシーンはすごくよく覚えていて、あそこはやっぱクライマックスになりますので、大事な場所だと思います。で、今回はですね、聖火台の位置は実はまだ特定していません。で、これからいろいろなスポーツ関係者、あるいは開会式を演出する方っていうのがきっと出てくるんだと思います。で、そういう方たちとのディスカッションの中から最終的に決まってくると思っています。
I personally also very much remember this scene, and this is really the important climax within the Olympics, or the setting as well. Actually, the location of where the Olympic flame and the platform will be located is not yet determined within our design for the stadium. From now, we will be having consultations with various people from the sports field, and also, of course, from now, the producers of the opening ceremony are sure to be confirmed from now as well. So through discussions and consultation with them, we will be discussing issues such as the location of items within the stadium itself.
Okay, you want to, please, yes.
Shihori Komatsu, freelance. 実際に競技で使用するアスリートに対してのデザインの観点から意識をされた点とか工夫された点というのはありますでしょうか。またヒアリングなどはされたりして意見交換やこれから生かされていく予定などもありますか。
I would like to ask what aspects within your design were put in place, particularly considering perspectives of the athletes who will be utilizing the stadium. Also, if there were any hearings which were held, or if from now there will also be discussions with athletes about how the space will be used and so on.
ですね、それに関してはかなり細かくヒアリングをして、いろいろな動線のこと、部屋の大きさのことを考え始めています。で、例えば、アスリートがですね、中に入ってきて一筆書きで最短の距離でトラックまで出てこれるようにする動線にするにはどうしたらいいかとかですね、細かいことでいうと更衣室の大きさがですね、普通は25でラグビーのチームだと更衣室に入らないっていうことがあるらしいです。普通ので、それもラグビーのチームが30人のロッカーが入れる大きさの更衣室に少し普通により大きめにしようとか、そういう細かいことまでヒアリングして今回何に反映してあります。でももちろん十分ではないと思うので、これからさらにヒアリングをして皆さんの意見を聞きたいと思っています。
Yes, indeed. In regards to issues of various aspects of size or routes within the stadium and so on, the perspectives or the opinions of athletes is something very key. We have had, of course, some hearings and discussions until now. We are starting to develop these or deepen these further as well. Questions, for example, for athletes when they are entering the stadium to ensure that they have the least distance or the shortest distance to be able to go from the entrance to the track, for example, or also even questions such as the size of the changing rooms within the stadium. Usually these changing rooms would be designed for 25 people, but this is actually too small for a rugby team, for example. So ensuring that we can have the size of the changing rooms within the stadium large enough to ensure that there are lockers for the 30 people who would be required for a rugby team. And these different aspects and so on for different sports and different use of the stadium as well. Of course, this is still not sufficient, and we will be having many more discussions and hearings and so on with athletes in the days and months to come.
Okay, there was somebody, you wanted to ask a question? Yeah, go ahead, please.
東京芸術大学の山田と申します。スタジアムは、文化的利用もスポーツだけではなくていろいろされると思うんですけれども、例えば音楽ですとか、その美術、パフォーミングアーツとか、そのファインアートっていうものの利用の仕方っていうふうなことについて工夫されたことはあるんでしょうか。
I would like to ask about non-sports uses of the stadium. I believe that it will also be used for cultural purposes, for example, for music, for concerts, and so on as well. I would like to ask what considerations are in place for such usages.
スタジアムはですね、その空の森をデザインした時も、スポーツイベントをやってる時以外の時も人たちに親しまれるようなスタジアムにしたいと思ったので、なるべく開放的でいろいろな目的に使えるオープンな感じっていうのを大事にしてデザインしてあります。で、実際に音楽ができるかどうかとかですね、音がその時に漏れるのがどうするかとか、そういう細かい問題はこれからいろいろあると思うんで、じゃあそこの利用に関して、音楽とかアートの利用とか、いろんな利用に関しては、やはりこれから期間でいろいろなディスカッションでご意見を聞きながら反映していきたいというふうに思っております。
First of all, in regards to other uses of the stadium, as seen in the design of the Grove of the Sky as well, the walkway in the upper part of the stadium, really ensuring that this can be something which is open for cultural purposes and for all different ways to be using the stadium is something which we have seen as very important within our design. In terms of technical aspects about whether it will be suited to musical concerts and so on as well, for example, sound and how would this affect the surrounding environs and so on, this is something that we need to be further looking into. From now, we will be having various discussions and so on, looking at practical aspects of utilizing the stadium for music and art purposes and so on.
Okay, I keep looking over this way. Does any, yes, okay. Go ahead, please.
日刊現代の大畑と申します。先ほどのですねご発言を聞くと、熊さんご自身は、ザハ案との類似性をお認めになっているかのようにも聞こえました。となると、ザハさんが、法的手段の、行使も辞さない今、外形上のネックはやはり、あずさ設計の存在ではないでしょうか。ザハ案の設計 JV4 社のうちの1社であったこともあり、今回のスタンド設計で本当に、流用やアイデアの一致がなかったと言い切れるのでしょうか。よろしくお願いします。
はい。
I believe in your previous comment you did acknowledge some similarities with Zaha's design as well. I would like to ask if we look at also legal measures which may be put in place to now, particularly the role of Azusa Sekke being involved in both of the designs and the company which will be building the stadium stands and so on as well. I would like to ask if you can make a comment about how we can ensure that Zaha's design will not be wrongly used in your design for the new stadium as well, and how to ensure that it is completely different. If you can make a comment on this, thank you.
私は類似点っていうのは、その座席を何席並べるとか、それから角度っていうことで、それは条件から自動的に出てくるものでの類似点があると言ったので、デザインや類似しているとは全く思っておりません。
In regards to the similarities, I would like to clarify that in regards to issues such as, well, how many seats can be placed in a row or the angles and so on, the conditions of the stadium, the conditions of the competition mean automatically that there are certain technical similarities within the designs. However, in the design aspects of the stadiums, I would like to say that there are no similarities.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, it's just one second. Whoops. We're open. I've opened the floor up to everyone. So, how about the gentleman? Yes, please. Yes. If you're with the press, can you identify yourself, please?
I'm Takenaka from Reuters. Zaha Hadid's office apparently rejected a request from Japan Sports Council to give up the copyright of the detailed stadium design in exchange for the overdue payment. And Zaha's office also apparently rejected the new clause calling for the asking the Zaha's office not to comment on this whole project anymore. And are you aware of this request from Japan Sports Council, or is this something maybe you've approved of or you recommended? And is this a standard or kind of it is a typical or standard procedure in cases like this? And just one more thing, could you tell us a little bit more about the difference in the seating design? You said something about the saddle-shaped design from the Zaha's office and your flat design, and I just cannot have a mental image of that, the difference. So could you tell us a little bit more about that? Thank you.
はい、いいんですですね、ザハさんと JSC のやり取りに関しては私は詳細を知らないので、私はそのことについてはちょっとお答えが難しいです。で、私の方には実はザハさんは何もコメントきません。私のには全く連絡がないので、それに関してはコメントは難しい状況です。
First of all, in regards to the requests or the discussions between JSC and Zaha's office, I am not aware or familiar with the details of any discussions between the two parties, and so I cannot respond directly to that question. I have not received any direct contact from Zaha's office or communication in regards to this either.
で、そのサドル型の水平型はですね、すぐパースを見てお分かりのように、ザハさんはこういうふうに、東西の両翼が大きく盛り上がったデザインになっております。で、我々は全部がフラットにする。で、それは全部がフラットにすることで高さを抑えることができる。それから同じ部材で作ることができるってコストメリット。それでいわゆる環境とコストのことでそういうふうにしようと決めたので、絵を見ていただけるとすぐ分かると思います。
And in regards to the differences between the designs or the saddle and the flat as well, if you look at the pictures, perhaps you can see the physical differences there as well. But if we see within the saddle-shaped design, on the east and west sides, you can see almost it's ascending or going into the air as well, flowing up. And however, in our design, ensuring that it is all flat, including the roof, means that the height is also kept to a minimum throughout the whole design. This can also have the cost merits of ensuring that the same material can be used for each of the floors, each of the layers, and also environmental benefits as well. So I recommend perhaps if you take a look at actually the images of the two designs, you can see very much the physical differences there too.
Okay, more questions? Sorry, you already asked one. How about, go ahead, yeah, please.
Kenji Ho with Monocle Magazine. When building any public facility of this size, security is a concern. I wonder if security was one of the considerations in your design, and if not, should it be? There have been suggestions that with so many trees, that could present a security risk.
その木がセキュリティのリスクになる。
というような批判を聞いたことあるんですけれども、例えばそこに爆弾を設置したりとかっていうのは隠す場所があるというような。
そうですね、ご指摘のようにセキュリティ、今の時代は建築作るときにセキュリティが非常に大事なポイントになっていることはよく分かっております。で、私も例えばフランスでもフランスで実は今一番新しいのはプレイエルの駅ってサンドニの近くサンドニはこの前の IS のテロの時に非常にそのテロリストたちがそこの辺りにいたという駅の設計をして、それもものすごい今セキュリティのことで、フランスの鉄道の人たちとディスカッションをして、おります。本当に今までとはちょっと違うぐらいセキュリティが大事になっているので、今回も日本でもそういうことがないとは言えないので、さらに細かく配慮をしていきたいと思っております。
Yes, in any aspect of architecture now, security issues are, of course, very important points. I'm actually also working on one of my newest projects in France is to design or to construct a new train station in an area of Paris which is actually very close to where the recent IS attacks took place as well. So in the discussions we are having in regards to building this station as well, for example, with the French rail company and so on, the discussions and considerations about security are really taking place on a level which is very different to even until now, when it has even been a high priority as well. Of course, we cannot deny the risk of perhaps some kind of threat occurring here in Japan as well. So I think that security considerations as we are going forward with this plan will be something that we will really have to amplify very much more as well. But it is already, of course, a consideration.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I was going to ask that as well. Okay, anybody else? Any questions? We've got about 10 more minutes, a little less than 10 minutes. Yes, please, go ahead.
お願いします。日韓現代の今泉と申します。さらなる工期の短縮の可能性っていうのはどの程度あるんでしょうか。
I would like to ask if there is any possibility of further shortening the construction period.
ですね、今回のコンペはその工期もちゃんと保証できる責任のある工期を工程表を作って出す。普通のコンペはここまで詳細の工程表を出すコンペはないと言っていいんですけど、今回は工期が重要だったので詳細な工程表を大成建設の方で作って全部書類に添えています。
In regards to the construction period, actually within this competition, it was even more of a detailed aspect than compared to other competitions as well. Usually it would not be necessary to provide such a detailed or strict timeline for the construction of a building. However, in this competition, Taisei Corporation was responsible for submitting a very detailed construction plan and also on a deadline which they would be able to guarantee within the proposal.
でただそれでももっと短くできないかという声もいろいろ私の方にも来ているん でありまして、それに本当に対応できるかどうかやはり工程の専門家がおりますので、工程の専門家が、そういうことに関しても、検証しているんではないかと思います。
However, despite this, of course, I am also now being asked by many people if it's possible to construct it in a somewhat shorter period as well, in faster. Many people are asking this, of course. It's very difficult to respond at the moment. This is something which is being considered by the experts on the construction process itself as well. So whether there will be any possibility in responding to this or shortening the construction period is a question which they are, of course, considering, but I cannot say at this time.
Okay, yep. Quick, please.
その工期をもっと短くしてほしいというリクエストの中で、いわゆるラグビーのワールドカップ、せめて決勝戦にでも間に合わせてくれっていうような要請ありましたか。
And I would like to ask specifically whether within the requests to shorten the construction period, if there have been requests to construct it in time to be used for the Rugby World Cup final.
ですね、インフォーマルではありました。で、間に合わないのってあと何ヶ月違うのかな、2ヶ月でしたっけ、2ヶ月違えば間に合うじゃん、2ヶ月ぐらいっていうインフォーマルではそういう話もいろいろな関係者の方から伺いました。ただ2ヶ月というのは今のギリギリの工程表から言うと2ヶ月ってすごく2ヶ月というのはすごく大きい2ヶ月なので、今それは専門家が、責任ある答えを出せるように検証していると思います。
Informally, I have been receiving such requests saying, well, it's only 2 months difference between the Rugby World Cup and the current planned finish of the construction as well. So from various related parties, I have been asked informally whether it would be possible to shorten the construction time. However, the current schedule is already very tight, and so having 2 months difference is, of course, something which does make a very big difference in the construction and going forward in the plan as well. So this is something which I think those responsible for the actual construction period itself will be considering from their perspectives and perhaps respond in a responsible way at a later stage.
Okay, thank you. Yes, any more questions? Yes, please, go ahead.
Kazumi Apliad from Swedish Embassy. You said that you are flooded with emails from the environmentalist, and I'm pretty sure that this question is included. But the trees or the woods to be used for the stadium, are they coming from the sustainably managed wood forests or the FSC certified forests in Japan? And if so, do you think that there is enough wood coming from such forest?
でその FSC の認証林の木を使ってほしいというのもいろいろ要望が来てますし、それに関しても、今いろんな検討が進んでいるようであります。で私自身も FSC の森の応援を自分で個人的にやっています。で、それに関してもいい答えが出せればいいなと思ってますが、まだ検証の途中だと思います。
In regards to whether the wood to be used in the stadium will be from FSC approved forestry and so on, this is one of the considerations which is currently underway. Personally, I am also involved in such FSC and more sustainably managed forestry and so on as well. So I hope that we can say yes to that question. However, this is something which is still under consideration.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes, a little bit. Any other questions? Sorry. Hello? Is there somebody, wait a minute, somebody who hasn't asked a question yet? I can't see. Oh, right here?
In the far corner. Do you see?
All the way, all the way. Okay, yes. Sorry. Looking the other way.
Hello, Jessica Kozuka, freelance. For people who don't work in your industry, the fact that there are two major contractors shared between both your designs and the prior design might be a little bit of a cause for confusion, or might lend credence to the idea that there had been some parts copied over into the new design. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the division of labor or the workflow and the things that were put in place to ensure that copyrighted material wasn't carried over into the new design and the new stadium. Thank you.
やはり同じ配線などがアジさんが関わっているというようなことで、やはりその前のデザインとは何かが使われているというような疑いを、直接その建築の業が知らない人からはそういう疑いはあるかもしれないんですけれども、どういう役割分担でその3社でその準備をしてきているのか、そしてそれぞれの会社が責任を持ってやっている部分というのはどういうふうになっているのかについて、3社の役割分担。
今回はですね、期間が短かったので、もう3社で同じスペースを借りました。でもう別々の場所にいたらばコミュニケーションがうまくいかないので、一つのフロアを借りて、3社からそれぞれ人間が集まって、もう一緒に設計したので、最初の時は僕がなんとなくデザインのコントロールをしてとか、そういうふうに一応役割は決めましたけれども、もう最終的にはもうみんなで一緒になって、考えたというプロセスであります。
In regards to the concrete process of coming up with the design within these three parties in the joint venture, it was a very short period which was available to us to ensure that we could reduce losing time between communication from different locations and so on. We actually borrowed or rented a space together to work on the proposal. So working together on the same floor, being able to speak directly, immediately in order to come up with the proposal. First of all, as my role, I was controlling the design and the aspects and the proposal in the initial stages. However, in the end, of course, we were all in this same shared space, really in there, working together on all aspects.
Okay, anybody else? No hands. Okay, go ahead. Yes, please. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Sorry, very important question about the cost. Today is the fluctuation of the economy. The global economy is very fluctuated right now. So suppose there is a high-rise price on market. As a designer, will you change the material or whatever to anticipate this high-rise price in the market? Thank you.
そうね。はい、ですね、今ご指摘のように今世界の建築の値段っていうのは本当に上がったり下がったりということになっていますが、今回はそういうものに対してどう対応するかってかなりコンペの時に条件がピシッと定まっていました。そういう条件が曖昧なコンペもあるんですね。 ところが今回は前の経験からコンペが非常に細かくそういう世の中物価の変動に対して、どう対応するかというのを決めていましたので、今回は、そういうトラブルが、起きないような、コンペの要項だったと思います。
Of course, fluctuations in architecture costs, or there are great fluctuations occurring here and, well, around the world, indeed. And how to respond to these is something which is very important. Actually, in the conditions of the competition, which was held for the second round for the stadium, there was very strict conditions in place about how such cost fluctuations and so on would be dealt with within the proposal. Often in some competitions, it is actually rather more ambiguous or not needing such detailed aspects within the proposal. However, perhaps after the previous experience in regards to the stadium, there was a requirement for very detailed aspects in relation to how to deal with fluctuations or changes in living costs, construction costs, and so on as well within the proposal. So from the very stage of the calling for or entrance in the competition, these different how to deal with fluctuations in cost is something which has been very much made clear.
Okay. Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said,
Yeah, please.
Okay, in the ante-room, you said to me that this competition was so difficult. I mean, it was one of the toughest that you've ever had. Can you comment on that besides the costs and everything? Was there anything else that was particularly difficult about this?
そうですね、今回のコンペティションというのは、実はそのプロセス自身いろんなことがあったということで、普通の国立のスタジアムっていう以上にその世界の人が着目しているんですね。ですから私にその寄せられるメールいろんな意見、もですね、もう本当に世界中の専門家の方からこんなに皆さんが関心持ってるんだなというふうに、感じます。でそれはですね、建築家としては、私は今の時代の建築家っていうのはそういうものを無視する、昔の建築家はそういうのを無視するような建築家ってのはなんかすごくエゴイスティックなそういう人だっていうような評価も昔はあったけど、これからの建築家っていうのはやはりそういうものに対して誠実に応えるっていうことが私の責任だと思っているので、できる限りそういうものに対して誠実に応えたいというふうに思っています。
In regards to the process itself of building this national stadium, of course, there are many things which have occurred along the way until now, which have meant that the international attention on this competition, this design, and this national stadium is even more than there would be usually for the design of a new national stadium. This has meant that there is very high interest from experts all around the world who have been contacting me with various suggestions and opinions and so on as well. Before, in previous times, perhaps an architect could going along their own way in a somewhat egoistical way, shall we say. However, in this era, in these current times, as an architect, I believe that it is my responsibility to really sincerely respond to each of these suggestions, comments, communication, and so on from these experts, and in the general sense as well.
Okay, we're out of time. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have a one-year honorary membership. Please come have lunch again. Thank you so much.